Hello again, and welcome to our MPTV Coaches Show. Ryan Lindley here with Eric Myers. This week, we're going to take you behind the scenes of our great Morton High School marching band. We'll talk to Director Tim Gray and drumline instructor Bob Hornsby. But first, Eric, it's been another successful week in Potters athletics.
Yeah, I mean, tons of success coming from everywhere. Our girls golf team is still rolling. Even last night, they had another Mid-Atlantic Conference victory. I think that makes 7 in a row in their matches, which is pretty impressive. Boys soccer team, again, still rolling. The record's up to 9-1. They've been ranked here in the state a couple times for the past couple of weeks, and not to mention those Hogs who are keep pounding away on the ball there, all three phases, offensive, defensive, special teams, putting everything together, wouldn't you agree right now? And now all of a sudden, looks like we have a really opportunity to win on Metamora Friday.
Yeah, really excited about that one. Chance to go to Metamora. It's a tough place to play. I mean, in my time in Morton, I think we've had one win there. Ooh. So it's been a difficult place to play, but I think if we continue to play hard and be aggressive, I think good things are going to happen this week.
Yeah, so obviously if you can make it out to Metamora, 7:30 Friday night would be awesome. We have a lot of other games happening. There's a soccer game at McClellan Park this Saturday morning. Obviously it's Pumpkin Fest, so we have a little bit limited schedule on some of the athletic events this week here at the Morton Potters. So, any last minute takeaways, Coach?
No, I mean, just get out and support the Potters, whether it's football game, whether it's golf, whether it's soccer, whether it's tennis, whatever it may be. Get out, watch the Potters, and next week we're back at home. You can make sure you show up for halftime of the football game and watch the marching band. We're going to get a chance to go behind the scenes here. We'll hear from Director Tim Gray and then drumline instructor Bob Hornsby right after this. Ryan Lindley here for our MPTV Coaches Show. I'm here with our MHS Marching Band Director, Tim Gray. And first question here is just talk about this weekend. You guys were at Washington High School, first show of the year, at least first competitive show of the year.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was great. Great feeling. We've been going to Washington for years as our first competition, even before I worked here. And it's kind of one that the parents love because it's close to home. And we've had a lot of success at Washington over the years. So it just felt great. The kids were awesome, and we start so early in the summer to get that first one off the back. Yeah. Feels nice to especially the freshmen. It's my favorite thing every year is to see the freshmen after their first competition.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a little walk up the tower here. I think a lot of people don't know, that we have this here. So for those of you at our show, you'll visit our MHS Marching Band Tower. So as we're walking up here, let me ask you another question. Obviously, you spend a lot of time up here as the band is training and whatnot. Talk to me a little bit about this summer and all those hours that you put in the summer.
Well, we start right after on the first week of July, and we start Tuesday, Thursdays, and then we have band camp the last 2 weeks of July. And really what it is, it's about building the foundation of fundamentals. Because if you have good fundamentals, I mean, just like any sport, or any other activity, chances are the other things are going to work out for themselves.
Yeah, I'm just walking up here realizing that I'm glad I exercise. This is a long trip to the top.
Yeah, I take this about 20 times a day, and I think it's the only thing keeping the weight off. So
let's talk a little bit about this season as a whole. Obviously, you mentioned Washington. That was the first competition. Talk to me a little bit about what's coming up. What shows are you particularly excited about? Anything new on the schedule this year?
Yeah, actually, we did add something new. I mean, we have Pumpkin coming up this week, which is always a fun parade for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next week's Homecoming, so it's kind of odd that we have all these weeks off here in a row, but then we're hosting our Invitational, and then we have a week off, but we've added a new competition this year at Lincoln Way.
Okay.
On the 15th. We originally were going to go to St. Louis, but things were getting a little expensive with charter buses, so we ended up going to Lincoln Way, which is great because there's a lot of suburbial bands that we're really competitive with at the state finals.
Okay, awesome. So a chance to see those groups before you see them, obviously, at ISU later in the year.
Yeah, a week later.
Okay, so nice. And talk to me a little bit then, just obviously schedule, it's always really competitive. I mean, obviously the expectations are incredibly high for the Morton Marching Band, but as they should be, obviously, with the success that the band has had. What are you kind of looking to at the end of this year? This has been a successful season
If we feel good about our performance at the end, that's really all that matters. I mean, when we walk off the field, like I was talking about the freshmen earlier and that feeling they have after that first show, everybody has that feeling after the last show. Yeah. I mean, every staff member, every parent, and it's something special. Yeah. And that's really what it's all about. It's that feeling, and lots of times the success part competitively works itself out. Obviously, that's why we put in the time, but the thing we preach is just practice how you perform. And if you do that, naturally the performances will take care of themselves.
That's awesome. I gotta say, the view from up here is spectacular. I mean, I must say, you're looking all the way, it seems like, to the end of Morton.
all the clinicians that I bring in here are always very jealous of my tower. Yes. So I tell them, they can probably build one, but I have no idea what they cost. No. It's got to be expensive.
Well, Tim, thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us. And stick around, folks. We'll have more right after this.
Thank you. So this is the drill, and so these are like the pictures we're making on the field, and you can see the different formations. Like these are baritones over here, and they're moving forward, and then they're moving forward, and they make this big curve. So these are what we call the dots. And so from a field perspective, the students get coordinate sheets that relate to this program, and it'll tell them that they're so many steps off the 45 and so many steps inside the hash mark, and then from here I try to what we call clean it, which is eventually have them all in the correct dot, and so that when they move between sets, they look like they're supposed to on the computer, essentially.
Welcome back here on our MPTV Coaches Show. Ryan Lindley now joined with Morton Marching Band drumline instructor Bob Hornsby. And obviously we talked to Tim Gray, the director, and he was very pleased with the performance at Washington this weekend. But specifically, let's get into drumline. How did you feel your section did?
Really great. I mean, we're a pretty experienced group in kind of the key positions this year. And so we've come out of the gate pretty hot, and even people in new positions have kind of sensed that you can step up and we can be really something special. So yeah, we went out and had a really good show, had a really good first show. It's like football, that first week you go out, it's more about just getting on the field and hitting somebody else, you know what I mean, as opposed to like all the training that you've done prior to that and the red, white night and everything. And so getting that first competition in is key, and they went out there and they were poised and had a good show. So I was really happy. I was really happy with how we showed in the first competition. So it was good.
Awesome. So let's go back a little bit. Sure. So, and we want to kind of take people behind the scenes. So we want to go almost more into your head a little bit here. And so you are the person that writes the drumline parts for the show.
Right.
So obviously that's, a big responsibility and takes a lot of time. Just kind of take me through that process. Like, how do you do that?
Sure. Well, I mean, a lot of it is the pre-planning, and we'll get, almost a lot of people don't know that as soon as we get done in November, we wait about a month and then we're already talking about the next year, and planning music and things like that. And then one thing that's really helpful for me is, just like any sport, the best coaches can plan to their strengths, so I'll know coming into that next year, who do I have in what positions and what sections of the drum line, the snares, the tenors, or the basses are going to be the most experienced and who I can lean on more. And so that really will inform the writing quite a bit. But yeah, then it's just a process of usually Craig Fitzpatrick, our coordinator for the Winds book, will write that first, okay, and then we'll write the pit parts, which is the percussion up front, and then I come in kind of when all that's done, and then my job is just to kind of fill it out, and get it going. And I usually will start at the beginning of the show, and usually the first part of the show I'll write a little bit easier, because I know that that's a part of the show that we're going to need to have popping pretty early, when we're not exactly at our peak skill level. And then as the show progresses, you write it a little bit harder so that they've got something that keeps them engaged through the full season. And really, honestly, to get super dorky about it, the way that I write for the drumline is a lot of times the snare drums, okay? You'll use them to kind of accentuate like the higher parts, like the high brass, like trumpets and whatnot. Tenors can either be used to accentuate kind of middle brass or woodwinds. Their sound tends to go together pretty well. And then bass drums really can go along with low brass, or bass drums can kind of carry time, and when you don't want the full battery playing, then obviously the full battery kind of jumps in when it's those big moments in the show. Because one thing that they don't want us to do at BOA events and whatever, is that the drum line should not be overpowering the sound of the band, right? If you can't hear the band and all you can hear is the drum line, that's not a good thing, even though a lot of drummers would tell you otherwise. But that's really not what you want for a balanced ensemble. So, it's just a work in progress, and things change over the season. Just like, again, if you got a scheme that you think is working, and then you revisit it and you realize, oh, tweak this, tweak that. You get feedback. We get feedback from judges. We get feedback from each other, and so. Really, I feel like a marching band show is kind of like a movie. They say with directors in movies, you never ever really finish the movie, you just run out of time. And so that's kind of what we do, is we just tweak and rewrite and tweak and rewrite. So it's kind of an ongoing season process. Yeah. One that I was terrible at when I started, and over 24 years I've gotten okay. So
let's talk about that a little bit. So, obviously the season's still in relatively early stages here, but if you're looking ahead, I guess it's kind of a two-part question. Is there anything in particular you're looking forward to this season? And then kind of big picture, when you wrap up the season, what kind of is that measure of we've accomplished what we want to accomplish this year?
Yeah.
We've been successful if?
Well, marching band is it's kind of a subjective activity. We're relying, in terms of where we line up at competitions, we're relying on the interpretations of judges that may have only seen our show one time. And then that one run might have not been our best run. So it's really hard to pin ultimate success on the number, at the end of the year. For this year, what I'm looking forward to is we have 3 competitions in a row kind of towards the end of October, where we go up to Lincoln Way up in Chicago, and we get to go up against some of those big Chicago bands, which is always fun. Then that next weekend is state, where we're going for our 17th straight title, and a lot of people think that we have a chance to make some real noise in finals, kind of like how we did last year. So I'm looking forward to that. And then that next weekend we go down south and get to go up against some of the good bands in Southern Illinois. So I'm looking forward to that stretch, because I think that's going to tell us a lot. And then I am looking forward to going to nationals again. As far as success goes, I guess I want the kids to feel really good walking off that field the last time, and I want them to be able to look back on things with really no regrets. We kind of preach that all the time. It's just like, if you can walk off the field that last time and you can know that there really wasn't anything more that you could have done to be able to give that last final performance, and you can walk off with like that peace and satisfaction kind of in your heart, then that's really the whole point. Because the only real measure that we can measure is, were we a better band than we were last year? And if we can all as a staff, and if we can all as a group and a program look back and be like, yeah, man, we took a step up, that's really ultimately kind of what we're trying to get done, right? Because if we keep doing that, then we're innovating and we're changing and we're pushing the kids and we're providing a good experience. And if we keep doing that, we'll remain relevant at the state level and that national level and things like that, which is, I think, something that we all kind of view as a feather in our cap. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Well, awesome. Big thank you to you for joining us. Big thank you to Eric Myers for his behind the scenes work, and for joining me to intro the show and recap the week in Potters Athletics. Big thank you to marching band director Tim Gray for taking time out of his day to chat with us for our MPTV Coaches Show. I'm Ryan Lindley. Make sure you tune in next week. Goodbye, everybody.